design thinking, was created by some experts for us to navigate our life, and not only our life like that, they want us to ensure that we have sustainable life in a way. And when we are talking about sustainable life, what are we talking about? These are the things that we are going to discuss in the next few hours. And as much as possible, I would like us to make sure that we make this session interactive. And when we make it interactive, it is when all of us can get value. All of us, we go with something new. All of us, we go home with something that we believe we are going to continue to use in the future to ensure a sustainable life for ourselves, a sustainable life for people around us. So let me go further by using another sharing platform. I don't understand what is happening with what I'm using here. It's not actually coming up properly. So I'm trying to see. Okay, now you can see that design thinking for sustainable features, as I capture here, I've tried as much as possible to ensure that we break down the key components of design thinking and for us to ensure the sustainable features. If you look at the design as a concept, it is an object, it is a process, it is a system, which means that we can't design our features if we don't understand ourselves as a system, as an object, and a process that has to have another component or more than one component before it can actually say that it is ready to do what? To create values and capture values. And when we are talking about thinking, we are talking about your ability in the context of reading, your ability in the context of writing, your ability in the context of speaking and listening. You can't be a very good thinker if you lack these 4 language skills. They are very important, and I'm very sure or thereabout, you must have been taught on how to be okay, how to be a good person in terms of reading, in terms of writing, in terms of speaking and listening. And when we are saying future and sustainable, what are we talking about? We need to look at the future from the angle of imagine what is going to happen to you, what is going to happen within your environment. So you need to envisage, you need to project, and by the time you are combining imaginations, envisioning, and projecting, what next you are going to do is to create the future. You don't expect people to create the future for you. In most cases, you need to create your own future based on your own specific characteristics, your own specific personality, your abilities, your capacities. Therefore, for you to say you are going to have a sustainable futures in the context of socio-economic and political life, you need to have what? You need to have 3 capitals. And those capitals are very critical to your sustainability, to how you will see yourself in the future without thinking about lacking one or 2 things in life. The first one is human capital. You yourself is the first capital that you need. If you are not okay, if you are not well groomed in a particular field of studies or discipline, it means that you are not likely to capture value when you get to the larger society. And I'm very sure your universities has actually trained you on almost all the parameters, the components that you need to survive when you get to the larger society, not only the average tower. The university environment is quite different from what you are going to meet outside there. The next thing is to look at natural capital. What are the natural capital? As we are saying that a country has natural resources, you as a person, you also have your own natural resources. And natural resources in the sense that your creativities, your curiosities, and other inbuilt facilities that God has actually given to you. When you go outside there, you need all this. If you cannot use them absolutely, at least you must be within the moderate situations. You must be within the moderate components. If you are not within the moderate and absolute, if you are at lower level, you are most likely to be struggling when you get outside there to do what? To create socioeconomic value, political value, at the same time to capture this value. So the next thing will be financial capital. And we know as part of factor of productions, capital is very important in terms of money. If you don't have sufficient money, you are most likely not to be able to do what? To achieve certain things that you're expecting to achieve in life. However, the level of capital will quite depend on the level of what you have as your own socioeconomic status. Some people, they will be within the bottom of the pyramid. Some, they are within the middle of the pyramid. Some are the top of the pyramid. And this doesn't mean that if you find yourself at the bottom of the pyramid, you can't climb the ladder. You can if you have what it takes to do that. And what are the things that you need to take to make sure that you move either rapidly from the bottom of the pyramid to the middle and the top of the pyramid is your ability, your capacities to do what? To create values. At the same time, to market the value to the people for them to see that you actually have those values. So when we are talking about sustainability, we need to do what? We need to understand some parameters. And as we are moving on and we talk about the ideal of sustainable future, in this context, like I define it here, in my own imaginations, based on my experience and what I and others have done in the past in terms of doing research from the personal level and the corporate level, we developed these definitions and said sustainable future is exploration of current personal and societal resources that enable strong abilities and capabilities for creating and capturing value without compromising using the same resources in the next few minutes, hours, days, months, and years. The meaning of all this is very important to us because at personal level, your university has actually helped you to build what? To build some skill sets, some knowledge in terms of theoretical concepts that you need as you are going outside there to do or to start creating value for yourself, for companies, and also capturing values. If you have all these resources and you have the abilities, ability in the sense that you are capable in terms of having physical structure, you are heavy enough, that is your ability. But if you have abilities and you don't have capabilities, you are most likely not to do what? To create value and capture value. And what I mean by capabilities, capability means the accumulations of skills, knowledge over the years. What you have been doing in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years consistently without stopping for long, and you continue to execute at a scale that delivers superior value to people, it means you have capabilities. But if you don't have capabilities, as I said, you are most likely to struggle in creating and capturing value. Therefore, you are not most likely to do what? To help people in the society, to help yourself within minutes in terms of creating value for them and solving the problem for them within minutes, within hours at the same time, and days, months, and years. And when we say sustainability aspect of this, how do you ensure sustainability? It means that these capabilities and abilities you have had over the years, and you continue to execute them for the next future without losing some components very vital to creation and delivery of the values, it means you are most likely to have what? Sustainable features. And what we are talking about in terms of personal skills, personal resources, and personal knowledge. Now, let me go back to what your university has taught you over the years. I believe that they have taught you two major skills and knowledge. The first one is employability skills from your fundamentals of business management, from your fundamentals of creating and analyzing cases, for your fundamental of developing solutions from the management consulting perspectives and others like that for organizations. They have gave you employability skills, the skills that you actually need to enter market, to enter labor market, to also create job for yourself if you feel like you want to be an entrepreneur. If you are not an entrepreneur, they have give you the skills that will help you to fix properly in any organization you find yourself. So under the employability skills, they have gave you hard skills. When I say hard skill, these are the skills that they are already in the curriculum of the universities. It could be the curriculum generated by the national university commissions, probably in your country, or from the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders for you to properly fit in within the India market system or outside the India market system. Now, the soft skills are those skills that you pick them consciously, unconsciously. And most of the cases, these are the skills that you need from the perspective of communications, interpersonal level, how you relate with other human beings in your society. What are the skills that you also have, like the skills from analytical skill, critical thinking? These are the soft skills that you pick consciously, unconsciously from what you have learned from the hard skills and the knowledge from your universities. And the next component I'm talking about here for the personal resources is about innovative skills. These skills are also those ones you pick consciously or unconsciously in your school environment. However, when you pick them from the school environment, most of them, they usually came from the hard part of the employability skill the school have already give to you. So in this context now, you must be curious. If you are not curious enough, you are most likely to get to the society and not finding things that you believe that will help you to succeed in society. When I say curiosity, you look at something. How can you learn this? How can you understand this? How can you apply this to make sense to yourself? In this context, I would advise that as you are going outside there, you need to do what? You need to know how to learn everything about something, something about everything, which means that you should not stop learning. You should not be curious about knowing things, about relearn and unlearn within your own environment and beyond the course you have been taught in school. Now, you also need to understand that you must be creative enough. If you are not creative enough, you are most likely not to do what? Not to be a person who do what? Who actually creates superior values. So creativity is very important. At the same time, you shouldn't forget about the idea of taking risk. If you cannot take risk, you are most likely not to succeed absolutely, because this life is all about risk taking. And if you are taking the risk, don't forget to do what? To collaborate. You collaborate with people. Your weaknesses has to be taken care of by somebody else's strength. You can't continue to say you want to be individualistic person in society where we have multiple issues, where we have a lot of uncertainties, where things are not really clear to most of us in a way because of what? Because of what we call information asymmetry. Information asymmetry in the sense that you cannot claim that you know everything. What you know within your own personal life, somebody else has another information. So which means that you need to do the collaboration for you to get what you don't have from another person's or from another organization or from another community in your environment. So now let's now relate this to design thinking. Design thinking has 5 components. The first component is to empathize. What is the meaning of empathized? Originally, design thinking was created for creation of products for organizations, or when researchers are trying to do what? They want to study some people from the angle of action research approach. Now, empathize means that you need to know that you must be emotional in a way with the subject. Now, let's go back to yourself now. If you want to use this for your own feature, you need to do self-evaluations. Who are you? What do you think you can do well? What do you think you cannot do well? You need to do self-observations and evaluate yourself as well. When you observe, you must observe beyond your own internalizations. You must do another thing that we call externalizations. As you are observing yourself, this is me, you must do that in relation to your environment. And as you are doing that, it will help you to see yourself within the scope of the others in that society. The self-evaluation will now comes in by looking at which part am I good at, which part is my weak point. Now, I need to do what? I need to work on it for me to be at par with others in my community or within my vicinity and any other place you find yourself. Now, the third thing that you also need to do when we are using empathize within the design thinking is media signaling. In this particular world that we find ourselves now, media is very central to whatever we are doing. We consume information every day. If you are not critical enough in terms of separating the fact from the fiction, from bias and lies, whatever, you are most likely not to see positive things in your environment. For example, most of the Western media, the way they portray us, those people in global south, is that we don't really have opportunities because they see us as continent or the region of poverty, the region of a lot of insecurity, the region of series of socioeconomic issues. Whereas there's no place in the world that has some of these things without having opportunities, because where we have the weaknesses, where we have the problem is where we can actually create job opportunities and make sense. Because the problem of some people, the needs of some people are money to some other people. If we know how to create that solution they need. So you need these three particular components for empathizations. Now the next is to define. You identify yourself, the critical needs. What do you need? If you cannot critically identify what is very important to you, and you are chasing what is not important to you, you are most likely to waste your life in the future. And for you not to waste your life in the future, that is why it is very important for you to create what we call personal visions and mission statements. These vision and mission statements, they are actually used in organizations. But like the way I taught some people in Nigeria, some students in Nigeria, I told them, it is also applicable to individual. If you can see yourself, your life as a business, you are most likely to succeed. But if you don't see yourself life as a business, you'll be seeing yourself in a place where you think you are not achieving. Whereas you are supposed to achieve because you have some inbuilt skills, the knowledge, the God has actually given to you. So I will advise you to do what? To have your personal visions. What do you want to do in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years after graduations? Write them down in your diary. Then the missions will be, how do I achieve these visions? If you are talking about 2 or 3 visions in the next 2 or 3 years, how many tasks, how many skills, how many people that you need that will help you to achieve those visions you are talking about? You must be critical in doing this. The next thing you also need to do is to identify your challenges. Like I said the other time, the weaknesses. You must know these are not what you have control over. Absolutely. For example, we cannot actually control the policy of the government in most cases, but we can build a structure that will help us to navigate the possible policy infractions that is likely to affect our own personal growth, at the same time to affect our contribution to any company we find ourselves. So the next thing is I did. In design thinking, they will be telling us that when you are trying to create product for people, you must be able to look at the possibilities that are available. You must also look at alternatives that are available. After you identify your critical needs and challenges, you must be able to know what are the possible things that you can do.
Dr. Yenda? Dr.
Yes.
Yenda, sorry to interrupt you in between. Is this any presentation that you are going to display, or you're just going to you're speaking? Because there is no presentation has been displayed.
Wow. Sorry, but I thought I'm sharing my screen with you.
Yeah, because the students have been confused that you've been saying it, but when you're saying they look at it.
Wow. Okay, now, sorry.
No problem. No problem.
No, let me go back again and share. I thought my, sorry. I'm sorry, but I will go back to the. Um,
Yes, now I can see the presentation.
And what I will go back to the previous one now. This is where I am. Can you see this one now?
Yes,
Can
now
you see
it's
this?
now it's visible. Now it's visible.
Okay, no. So now let's continue now. So here, what I'm trying to say is that you need also to hide it. And when you are trying to hide it, what we are talking about is that you need to explore possibilities after you identify your critical needs and the critical challenges. And when you are trying to do possibilities, you cannot have everything. For example, when you identify your critical needs, you have identified like 20 or 30 or 40. You cannot achieve everything. So you must be able to pick those ones that you think they are most likely to be achievable within a shortest period of time. Now, the other thing is that if you are saying, oh, you have listed all this and you have picked this and you started running to achieve that, what you have listed. But unfortunately for you, you met some issues along the way. You need to do what? You need to go to the alternatives. That is why whatever you are doing, you must be able to have plan A and plan B. Now, let's now assume the school has given you employability skill, innovative skills. Now you want to do a prototype. The prototype in this context, when we go back to the idea of the product creation, is when you have created a particular product, small portion of it, and you gave it to the potential customers to look at for you to evaluate the extent to which what you have created will actually solve their needs or their problems. Now, let's now go back to your individual level now. As a student, your school has gave you employability skills, innovative skills. Now, you want to go to the market now as a product. So you need to allocate, collaborate, and test, which I call act. Allocate in the sense that, for example, as a BA, MBA student, you have the skill set in terms of saying you know how to consult for process change in an organization. Maybe you have discovered that within the two knowledge apparatus we are talking about, you see yourself as somebody who can actually help organization to ensure smooth, effective process management. Now, you need to go there and allocate part of the abilities and capability you have achieved over the years. And you cannot do that alone. You need to collaborate with some people. For example, maybe there are some softwares that you need to do what? To execute projects for organizations or individuals. But somebody else had that knowledge that you don't have in a way. What do? You talk to the person. It could be among your colleagues within the set you find yourself right now. The person will help you to do what? To solve that particular problem. Now, the next thing is to test with organizations. Oh, guys, this is what I can do. I have this experience. I have this certificate. I have this knowledge. I can solve this and this problem for you in your organization or on the personal level. Now, the final after prototype to do the full test. The full test now will come with what we call MFAC, the minimum viable abilities and capabilities. Like I said the other time, you allocate what you know that you can use now effectively and getting results yourself in terms of capturing value after you have created value for the individuals or organization that have you as their consultant in a way. Now, I want to move to the next slide, but let's see. Sorry, the slide is not moving. Maybe I should use. Okay, now, sorry. No, so after you have done that, this is another thing I call SWOTizing yourself. So we want to navigate the market. And how can you do that without making a lot of big mistakes that some people are making out there? So I created this template for some people in Nigeria. Now, I'm very sure that all of us understand what we call SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that companies do use to do what? To understand their internal strengths, internal weaknesses, and then to look at the external opportunities and threats as well. Now, you can use the same template to do your own personal designing, to know who you are. Like I said the other time, you must identify your critical components, your critical abilities, your critical capabilities. Now, under the strength now, you need to list out some skills that you know you have as a person. You need to list some competencies that you have as a person. And the certificate you have acquired over the year, it's not necessary to be the normal conventional certificate of MBA or BA. What are the professional certificates you have over the years as well? Then when you have this, you need to score yourself. Like I said in one of my popular articles on Techedia, I described this particular concept there clearly. So you either locate 10 points for each of the skills that you identified, or you use 5. At the end of the day, try as much as possible to add up all these points to know where you fix in. At the same time, if you are saying you want to go there as a consultant for management organization, you want to look at the skills that you don't have, that you know that it is very important that that skill must be there for you. If you don't have it, write it down and put -10 or -5. The same thing for competencies and certificate for the weaknesses as well. Now, when we are talking about the opportunities, look at the market critically. What do you have in the market that you believe you can explore? And look at the recent experience within that market. If you know that there are new experience outside there and you lack the skills, you know that there is a problem. For example, we are now in the era of AI revolutions. AI is affecting almost all the sectors now. Now, as a consultant, to be at par with your colleagues, what do you think you need to do? Do you still need to hold on to the old system of thinking, the old system of running the analysis, or do almost everything within management consulting? Or when you are working with organization, do you think they will still reckon with you with the old knowledge, the old skills? If not, you must ensure that you pursue those new opportunities within the concept of experience and skill acquisition, as well as knowledge. What next? The threats. What are the skills that are emerging constantly that you think if care is not taken, it will push you out? For example, like the AI I said the other time, the AI is now affecting a lot of media organization in a way. AI is helping organizations to generate content without hiring much people again. Some months ago, or I think like last 2 or 3 months ago, in the US, the Nollywood writers, Bollywood writers or Nollywood writers, Hollywood writers, the filmmakers, they were saying that, look, they will not allow organizations to do what? To downsize or retrench them, because AI is now helping the film producer to generate scripts. Now, this is emerging skills, emerging knowledge, driven by technology. So if care is not taken, if you allow this to overwhelm you, you are most likely not to achieve what you're supposed to achieve. And then I have processes, products, people, and technology here. I have this component there because I know that whatever we are doing as a human being, as a business, these 4 components are very important. There is no organization without any standardized processes. You cannot have organization without products. You cannot have organization without people. The same thing as technology. Now, let's now go back to yourself as a human being. If you have gone to universities, you have certificates, you have this, you have that. You didn't have those certificates without process. Because the people who taught you, they created processes that run through the system in a way that help you to acquire certain skill sets. The same thing is about the product. When I say product in this context, they produce courses, they gave you books, they gave you seminars, they gave you workshops. These are the products that help you to achieve what? To have those abilities and capabilities they gave to you within the concept of employability and innovative skills and knowledge. Now, the people we are talking about here, the people who help you within the system, the lecturers, the non-teaching academic, non-academic staff, and others within the university, they are the people. At the same time, you have your friends, your colleagues, your family members who help you to do what? To get to where you find yourself today. At the same time, don't forget that from the process, product, and people, they use technology to interact with you one way or the other. So if you're also going outside there to sustain your future, you shouldn't forget all these components. You need them. As you are going to the outside to start making life, in terms of getting job, in terms of creating jobs, you still need those people you have in your university. At the same time, those people you have in the larger society who also help you following all these components, you still need them for you to continue to navigate the future, which is very not clear in a way to some people. To some people, it is clear. It is clear when you know what and what you can do with abilities and capabilities you have acquired over the years. If it is not like that, it means you are still struggling to identify which part of the abilities and capability you need to do what? To navigate the market. So we will go further and talk about some other key components that we need to navigate. So let me also readjust my. So for this now, I said test the water. When I say test the water, after you have acquired those abilities and capabilities, like I said the other times, we still need to look at how you need to do to test. Don't forget the last part of design thinking is test after prototype. Now, test the water here is about looking at your raw abilities and capabilities that people and employers don't need now. The other side is raw ability and capability you are dreaming to use for creating and capturing value. So in this context now, the big circle we are seeing here is your perfect picture. When I say your perfect picture here, I'm talking about your minimum viable abilities and capabilities. Most of us now, especially those people who actually don't have experience like some internship or working with some people within the university environment or outside university environment during the course of the acquiring the certificates of MBA or BA you are doing right now. If you don't have that, it means that you are most likely not to know your minimum viable ability and capabilities. But the moment you know that minimum viable ability and capability, it means you can now start dreaming. For example, let me share my own personal experience. When I finished my university around 15 years ago, like 13 years ago, my first degree. So I was like, I want to be what? I want to be a researcher. Not only researcher within the media and communications. I want to be a researcher that people will always come up to and say they want to know something about social sciences, humanities, and probably something related to some natural sciences like all this data science in a way that is not really deep within the core science and engineering. And I sat down, I designed my future. Doing what? I designed my future by listed the vision and mission I want to achieve. And I know that for me to be a researcher, I need to understand almost all the research approaches within social sciences, within non-social sciences in a way. So in most cases, I always take my time to read a lot around how to be a researcher and how do I use these particular methods. Then after done almost all this within 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I started looking out for people that will be giving me work to do. Even if you are not going to pay me the money, don't pay me, but I know by the time I pass through the system of doing this thing for you, I will have more knowledge, more skills, especially at a scale where I will be doing it at a faster rate for people. Not like I'll be struggling to apply for people. So you need to try as much as possible to know your perfect future within the context of ability and capabilities. Now you get to the raw abilities and capabilities you are aiming to use for the creating and capturing future, you list them and say, oh, these are the abilities I have, and these are the capabilities I have. So where you have the weaknesses, you must know who and who you are going to talk to, who and who you are going to collaborate with that will help you to do what? To make sense of creating values and capturing value in the future. And like I said the other time, I define sustainable future. I focus on the idea of using your personal resources and the societal resources without forgetting how you are going to use them in the next few minutes, in the next few hours, years, and months, in a way. So, for us to continue, I want us to have a kind of a short discussions around this particular MFAC. I want to know your views on what I've said so far. Do you have some experience that you can share with me regarding abilities that you have and regarding capability that you have? Can you tell me where you have used them and what you actually captured as value? So the floor is open for everyone to talk. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Dr. Nindan?
Hello?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here.
So I want the students to share the experience regarding abilities and the capabilities. What are those abilities that they have and capabilities they have, and if they have used them for certain things in the last few months or years, they should share them. Let us discuss.
Right. What we'll do is that we have students now. We will have the questions to them, and they will reply you back or with the email or the chat box.
No, chat box. I want them to use chat box. Just drop certain things to me. Let me see what you have as your abilities and your capability. What do you think are your abilities? What do you think are capabilities that you have that we use outside there when you finish your program?
Right. So you just put the question in the chat box. They will reply you, and with your if not, they will send give your email ID also. They might research and get back to you.
Okay. Because we can still do it now and make it a narrative. I want us to discuss it here, not
Yes, sure.
after. Yes.
It will be very useful if you do it on the live chat box, because students will be more active with the seminars they have seen.
So it means that I can continue discussions and then why we are expecting the response in the chat box.
Yeah, you just put in the chat box. We will have the answers.
Okay, now. All right. So let's say you in a business, and the other time we discussed about the perfect feature, which I called your MVHC, the minimum viable ability and capabilities. Now, like I said the other time, design thinking is primarily developed for understanding customers in the context of creating products for them or services. So if you want to see yourself now in an organization where this design thinking is actually prioritized for creating products, this is how you need to see it. The empathy represent you talk to people and listen to them. If you are a manager or product creation person, you must know how to relate with customers. This is very important. And if you are doing that, you must be able to have emotional uh, component that's very at par with them. You can't just rush into the setting of subject or participant or potential customer users without listening carefully to what they want. When you are creating a product as an organization, you cannot do product based on what you think they want. You need to go there and know what they want. That is why in product creations or service creations, we do have market research. So when you do the market research, you'll be able to see what they want. From that end, it will help you to do or to create a product very tailored to them or services that actually align. It's not only creating what they will not be able to pay for or not what they want, absolutely. So the next thing will now be defining what bothers them. So what is their worries, actually? If you know their worries, you are most likely to understand what they want and how you are going to create the better service and product for them. And then idea generation. How can we help them in a way? Define the ideas. That is where we have the ideas the other time. And the next thing will now be for you to select, rate the ideas within the teams. Like I said other times, when you are using this for your own personal development, you look at the critical needs. You select the most important one. The same thing applies to creating products for people, organizations. You must be able to rate the ideas they suggested in the component of defining what bothers them and with the context of ideation you have done previously. Now, the next thing is to do was to go to the market and create a solution concept, a minimum one, at the stage that you know that your resources that you're going to use now is not going to affect you in terms of the loss if eventually the product uh, gets to the market and they don't actually pay or have any interest in it. That is why you must do a minimum one. The same thing applies to what I discussed at that time. Within yourself, you know that these are your abilities, these are your capabilities. Now, pick the one that you believe is going to help you to create the necessary and accessible values, and also help you to capture value from it. Then the testing, get the feedback and money. When you tested the minimum one you have produced in a way, and you gave it to some selected customers in the market, and they pay you back, you do what? You see a little bit of money from that. But for you now to go to the large part of the market, you also need to do what? To create more than the number of the units you created previously while testing the product. So you develop the product at a large scale and take it to the market for you to have enough money as you expected. Now, the second part of our seminar is what I call Fixing Societal Cage Driven by VUCA World. Now, when I say the cage, okay, I picked this particular cage from one of the India professors.
Sorry,
Yes.
Just, are you presenting anything? Because your presentation is not visible.
I don't know why I have selected presentations. Okay, let me. I don't know. I don't know. Is it?
Because students say that they are confused what you're asking it, and your presentation's not visible. So that's the reason.
Can you see? Can you see this presentation now?
Yes, now it's visible.
I don't know what is happening to what I'm sharing here, and I think I will send you the PowerPoint, the presentation later for them to actually walk through it. And so, is it visible? Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Is it
I can hear
visible?
you. Yes, I
Is
can
it
hear
visible?
you. Yeah,
can you see the screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
I want to make it now. Is it visible now? Hello? Can you see this?
Yes, yes.
All right. Now, so now this one is the second part of the discussion I shared at that time. So I'm talking about exit societal cage driven by the VUCA World, and we are saying cage here. It is a template or framework developed by one of the Russia, India professors. I can't remember the name now. And the cage represents cultural, administrative, geographical, and economic. And we are saying cage here, it is a template that you need to use, just like the SWOT that we discussed previously. When you are going out there as a potential job seeker or a job curator, you need to understand the cage system as part of the ways of understanding the market dynamics. Now, for you now to enter society properly and get the value to yourself after we have created the value for them, that's what we need to first pay attention to, which is the cultural. The cultural background of India is not the same thing as cultural background of Bangladesh. The same thing for other countries outside your region. So you need to understand the language of that place. If you cannot learn the language, how do you think you can navigate the language problems? Nowadays, we are having a number of software that can help us to translate when we get to a particular country or region where we don't understand their language. At the same time, you should also know religion of that particular territory. What are the religious values? What do they like in the context of religion? And what do they think that you shouldn't do? If you are doing them, what are the possible implications of that to you as a person or as an employee of a particular region? For example, if I talk about Nigeria now, there are some things that you can do properly in the southern part of Nigeria in terms of religious contents or discussions that you will not have issues. But if you do the same thing in another part of Nigeria where they really believe and embrace the religious values, absolutely, you are most likely to be dealt with. So the same thing also goes to the ideal of values of the larger system, excluding religious issues. There are cultural values peculiar to particular regions in terms of dressings, in terms of speaking, in terms of eating and others like that. The same thing as traditions. So for you to enter a particular society, you must understand their culture. And at the same time, understand intracultural issues within that particular setting you're talking about. Not only about the intercultural of your own culture and their own culture. You must also need to understand some minimum cultural values within that particular setting. This is very important. The next is to look at the administratives of the society you find yourself. If you get a particular locations, a particular country or regions, look at the level of political administrations. Is the system in that country is more efficient in terms of delivering public goods? That is, when you have a contact with the government establishment, what is the extent of getting things done within that particular locations? So you must understand all this. The same thing is to politics. The politics drives almost everything, including social and economic. So without politics, we won't usually even making a lot of sense from what we are creating as a value, as a person, and as an organization. So that is why you'll be seeing some companies in some countries, they will be doing governmental lobby, they will do pressure group and others like that for them to make headway because of the level of politics being played in that particular region or country. And you also need to look at regional models. A particular country in a particular region cannot be in isolation with other regions. Like India, India cannot be ruled out in terms of what is happening in Asian and some other countries within the Middle East in a way, because it is very central to the governance structure, the governance response, and others from other countries within that particular Middle East region and the continent. The requirements. What are the requirements of the administration in that particular location? If you are dealing with the particular sectors, what are the government requirements for you to survive? If you are working as an employee, now what are the requirements that you need to have? You must sit down properly, analyze all this for you to really remove the cage of VUCA environment. The same thing when we are talking about geographical part of this, talk about the size of the country. What is the size of this particular country? If I'm coming down to India now, I should be able to understand which part of the India can I really fit in terms of looking for jobs. If I'm at the capital, is it possible for me to actually get job on time? If not, where can I go? Where can I fit my abilities and the capabilities? This is very important. And the second one would be orographies. If you are somebody who like to be visiting tourist attractions, what are the things that you can go outside there and make fun from that make sense and say, okay, you are doing it outside the business, outside the working period. Look at the weathers. What are the weather of the country? If I'm working in Canada, is my personal health can withstand Canada environment? If not, which environment do you think you can fix in? Some they will force themselves to enter some locations where their personal health cannot withstand the weather environment. So it's going to be a cage for you in a way. Now the next thing now be the borders, political borders. If you look at India, what are the countries that share border with India? If there is an issue in one particular border, what is the extent of that particular political issue affecting you within the India? For example, now, if you look at what is happening in Israel, Israel and Palestine, they had issues. The issue is now degenerating to certain things now that we cannot say what will be the future of that particular incident we are looking at now. For the people who are within the Israel now, they don't actually know what's going to be the next actions, what's going to be the next risk they are going to pass through because of what is happening. And this is being determined by the political strategy from both sides. The both sides that are working towards achieving certain things. So the next thing is economic. Look at the economic model of that particular country. Is economic model being driven by capitalists or socialists or communists? These are the things that you need to look at. If you find yourself in a country where is dominated by the capitalist or neoliberalist, so what are the implications for you as a person? Do you think you are going to survive there personally? Or if you are creating a job in that particular location, do you think you are going to make sense? Absolutely, by capturing value that will commensurate with what you have created in a way. Then you look at the GDP of that particular country. What's the GDP per capita? To know the strength of the economy. Then what's the level of productivity? Do you think that that country has productive labors in the sense that if you go there to have a company, you are most likely to have what? To have better understanding, better money, better capital, better revenue to yourself because you have invested in that particular locations. You know the number of times that the people come to work and how they are making sense in that environment. I could remember my sojourn in the one particular course in West Africa, the Gambia, was I think 2014. Then they don't work on Friday on a full hour. They work from 10 and close by 12. But when they had another government, I think some years ago, the man studied the issues and discovered that it actually affects the GDP growth, the hours of working. Then the government sat down and came up with a policy that said, no, we need to be working on Fridays. However, for you to go and perform your religious rite of that Friday, you can go during so number of hours and return to work. So these are the things that you need to do. And now, you now go back to the design thinking part of this. How can we now apply design thinking to this cage? It is not quite different from what we discussed previously. Empathize. Know yourself very well before you enter one particular territory, before you enter one particular country. So, based on this cage analysis, you must be able to know how you can evaluate yourself in a particular country using all these units of analysis, using their language. How can I understand the language of these people, the language of this region? How can I understand their religion? If I get to their region, how do I need to empathize? How do I make sure that I don't do what they don't like? For example, I don't know how true is that for now because I read this from newspaper. There are some things that you cannot do in India regarding religion. There are some people, they are worshiping certain things. The moment you touch that thing, you are going to red line, which means that if I find myself in India now, I must understand the religious rights that I should not violate. That doesn't mean that I find myself there, I'll be now claiming that I'm a human being. This is not good. What is bad in my thinking is good into so I need to respect that. In the context of doing that, what you are doing is you are trying to empathize with them because I cannot force my own ideologies. I cannot force my own thinking on them. So the same thing is that if I find myself in India, I must be able to define my critical needs within the India. I shouldn't get to India, I will define my critical needs within the context of what I'm bringing from Nigeria. It's not the same thing. So if my critical needs are high, why I was in Nigeria and I got to India now, I discovered that based on my cage analysis, I need to change my critical needs to this. These are not necessary. These are the important ones. If I find myself in UK, I shouldn't see myself like the way I'm seeing myself when I was in Nigeria again. I must know what are the critical things I need to identify. For example, when I moved to Moscow, weather changes is my critical challenge. In Nigeria, whether during the rainy season, the winter or summer, I don't have any problem. But as soon as possible, I move to the Moscow now. I'm feeling critical challenge from the perspective of the weather. That is one. Previously, when I was in Nigeria, my critical challenge remained the stable electricity for me to work. But here, it is not a challenge to me because the light is stable. Transport system is working. I don't need to be thinking on how do I need to solve this particular basic needs. So they are not my critical challenge any longer. Now, the next thing will now be what is the critical challenge, as I said, is the weather situations of the country. But as time goes on, within 2, 3, 4, 5 years, one needs to do what? To adapt. That is one. The second critical challenge I'm having here is the language. So, as much as I can say I can speak the little one, I can still not be at a perfect person in terms of speaking their language. That is why, for me, to navigate the society, I must always go out with a translator. If I'm not going out with a translator for a day, I know that I'm in trouble. Unless I get somebody that can speak the English language that will help me to talk to somebody else who can't speak the English language. This is very important. Now I got to the country. Possibilities are there. What are the possibilities I can do? Okay, within my own self, I discovered that within the university environment, I can do this. I can go to conferences without paying much, without paying anything sometimes. Now, in the past, within my country, for me to attend conferences, I need to pay. There are some things that are not free for students in the university environment that you need to pay for them. So the same thing needs to apply to you as well. When you get to a particular environment, you employ. What are the possible things within the cage of this particular country I found myself? What are the alternative things I can do within this cage of this particular country? The same thing now. Okay, as I'm getting myself here now, what part of my abilities, capabilities I can allocate and get values? What part of my ability that I don't really have opportunity to, weaknesses that I need to solve. So which means that I need to collaborate with somebody else to help me to do what? To achieve this opportunity or possibility I'm seeing within this environment.
Dr.
The
Yinda?
same thing. Yes?
Yes. Dr. Yinda, do you have any more slides?
This is my last slide, so I'll finish very soon.
Because we are running out of time now. We have only 5 minutes. If students,
no problem. Okay,
now,
no problem.
It was really interesting. Like if I have more time, then because we have second seminars lined up. So if
all right.
So what happened is that it was really interesting and very motivating that you were going through, and we would we want to listen more and more. But unfortunately, the time was just we have 5 minutes. So I'll request students, anyone who has any questions to ask, please go ahead. Students, do you have any questions? You can put it in the chat box if you're feeling shy to ask. I guess they have been motivated and they're just realizing the future, what you are explained. So I guess you just share your email ID to them. They will drop the once they are in the research mode, when they will face Well, tomorrow morning, they will think about it. They will have some queries. They will definitely drop emails to you.
So you can check the chat box. I have my email address there, and you can also try to follow me on LinkedIn with this name. Continue that on LinkedIn. So
yes, Dr. Linda, thank you so much for your valuable time and valuable inputs that you have given us. I know you have a busy schedule. Still, you have made it for us. Thank you so much. And
thank you for.
And I also thank Dr. Michael for giving us your reference, and hope in future we will have more exciting topics where we can hear from you.
All right. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
so
attending.
much.
I'm
Have
very
a good night.
grateful.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.